All right, good morning. I'd like to go ahead and call to order our regular monthly meeting for the Mississippi Charter Authorizer Board. Today is June the 8th, 2020. We've also already moved forward with our first item on the agenda for our new board member, Ms. Jean Cook. Welcome to the Authorizer Board, Jean. Jean will be taking my place. And so I know you will be in great hands. We'll begin with the election of a chairman and vice chairman. Is that correct? And so right now we open the floor for nominations. And I'd like to go ahead and nominate Mr. Billingsley for chair of the Charter Authorizer.
Second the motion.
All right, so if there are no other nominations, I guess I need a motion to appoint Mr. Billingsley as chair of the Charter Authorizer Board.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Speed. May I please have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dr. Young. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you all for this opportunity to serve you in this capacity. At this time, I will pass the gavel virtually to Mr. Billingsley.
Thank you, Quentin, and we all appreciate the hard work that you've done leading this group, and we look forward to seeing what's going to happen with you next with your new job. Appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Quentin, can I just say a couple of things? I just want to say, Quentin, thank you so much. You've just been an amazing person to work with, and I appreciate all of your support the entire time. You've been a person I could lean on and trust and work with closely, and I appreciate you and wish you the very best and look forward to working with you and continued opportunities throughout our work together in education.
Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful opportunity. I've learned a lot. I shared with Lisa last night privately, and I will say this publicly. I think one of the greatest accomplishments that we've made since I've been on the board was appointing Lisa, Dr. Kamacharya, as chair. None of us can fully appreciate the amount of work that she's had to do to get us to where we are. I know we are in capable hands. Boys and girls are receiving services. We are attracting new opportunities, new charters, and I am looking forward to continued support with charter schools. In my current role, I don't have a new job, Mr. Billingsley. I just have additional responsibility with the one that I have. And so I'll be around. I'm a phone call or a text message away. Thank you all very much.
That's what I meant, is that I know you've got some new duties waiting for you over there due to the recent issues that we've had with the virus and additional funding that we're going to get. So I'm glad to see you doing that. I know that that's in good hands.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Quentin.
Take care.
You too.
The next item on the agenda is to elect a vice chairman. I would like to nominate Leland Speed for the vice chair. Is there a second for that? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, I will second that.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Being no further nominations, we will vote. All in favor of Mr. Speed being the vice chairman of the board, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Speed, for agreeing to serve in this important role. We appreciate all the work that you've done with this board as well. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to see the agenda and take a look at what we've got to do today? I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
And a second, please. Don't be shy, folks.
Second it.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? If not, then the agenda for today is adopted and we will move on to the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from the last meeting? If so, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes as written.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Speed. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. The next item is the chair report. Being fairly new at this, I don't have one. So we'll move on to the executive director report. Lisa?
Sure, thank you. The first thing I'd like to do is just talk just a minute about the committee assignments for going forward. Last month, you'll remember we talked about these committee assignments and how important they are. So each of you were kind enough to express your willingness to serve on these committees. And so right now I have made those assignments. Mr. Billingsley, I have you serving on the Performance and Accountability Committee and the Student Enrollment Task Force. Mr. Speed, I have you on your Applications Committee, of which you've served previously. Ms. Willis, I have you on the Applications Committee. That'll be a new committee for you. And then Ms. Cook, I have you on the Performance and Accountability Committee. Depending on new appointments, you may be a lone committee at this point. You may be a lone committee member, but because we're still missing 3 board members, as you know. So the Lieutenant Governor currently has 2 positions to replace, and then the governor has a position, a board member that needs to be filled, both from the 2nd and 3rd Supreme Court districts. So we are in good shape if all of you are willing to serve on those committees as I've presented.
I'm happy to.
Anybody concerned about that committee or want to swap committees? Okay, then we're going to move forward with that. And you will be getting some additional correspondence from me as to when those committees will begin meeting, especially with the Applications Committee going forward. So with that, I'm going to really start my report then this morning. Again, good morning to everybody. It's good to see everybody. I see we have some guests with us as well. So welcome to our guests who have joined us this morning. I have already said a special thank you to Quentin, but Dr. Young, a special thank you to you as well for your service, and understand this will be your last board meeting with us. So we're going to miss you. Wish I could see your sweet face, but we're definitely going to miss you and miss your expertise in serving on the board and your commitment to public education. So thank you, and best wishes to you going forward. And I just pray God blesses you with continued good health and happiness throughout the rest of your life.
Thank you, Lisa.
Jean Young, thank you for serving, and Jean Cook, welcome again. We are so glad to have you, and I'm looking forward to the expertise that you're going to bring to the board as well. We appreciate your work in public education across the street from us at the Department of Education, and really look forward to serving with you and learning from you and working alongside you going forward. So thank you for your willingness to join the team at the Authorizer Board.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, updates for the month. The initial planning meetings, last month we talked about all of our CSP work and our technical assistance providers. All of those meetings have taken place. The providers are working alongside the schools with the authorizer, and the work is moving along very well with bi-weekly meetings taking place with every one of our service providers. We've also met with Mississippi First, and their work is underway with our annual survey that they'll conduct also with respect to the CSP grant. Midtown's conditional renewal is well underway. They have provided all of the components to the conditions that they were assigned during the renewal and the draft renewal for academics, for enrollment, the organizational component, and their fiscal plan as well. And the authorizer has provided feedback to them, initial feedback, and a new timeline for them to meet those terms and conditions. And we will come back together with Midtown to make sure we are on go for that. Additionally, as you know, the authorizer contracted with NACSA through the CSP for an evaluation of the authorizer board. And one of the components of that particular contract was a request by us internally to review the performance framework. You all will remember when I first got on board, one of the things that I noticed right up front was the fact that our documents didn't align, right? So we had a contract that didn't align with a framework, that didn't align with the statute, that didn't align with timelines. And there was a real disconnect there. So through the work of the authorizer internally, with the staff here, through support from NACSA and support from WestEd, we are making great strides to get those connected so that they align, they make sense, they're fair, they're equitable, and when we push out any kind of document, a requirement around the framework, a contract to our schools, they're going to be aligned, solid documents that we can count on and trust and that we'll work from. So I'm happy to report that we will continue our work on the framework, and we should have next month, we should be able to bring to you a revised version of that framework for your approval. Any questions? I'll stop there for a minute. Okay. Also, next month, we will bring to the board some recommendations for waivers for going forward for next year. Now, that work too is ongoing. It's ongoing around reporting. It's ongoing around site visits, around conversations around school tours, conversations about the renewal, because we have a school that will be in renewal next year. And we are reviewing, looking at alternatives, having conversations with Avery, having conversations with other people, other authorizers, other advisors, to see what other folks are doing that we can potentially bring before you next month some options in terms of waivers that will help relieve some of the anxieties and stresses that everybody has during this unusual time with the COVID environment and what school is really going to look like next year. The next thing I want to show you, or actually a couple of things I want to show you, just on the website, Jordan, if you'll pull this up. So all of you should be able to see the screen. One of the things that was really important to us as a staff was to make sure that our schools had answers to the questions that they have. And sometimes the truth is there's just not an answer yet. But we've tried diligently to work closely with the Department of Education, keep up with what they're sharing, what the USDE is sharing, and what we've been able to find out to support the schools. So if you look every week or so when new information comes out on our website, there is an FAQ around accountability, around attendance, around child nutrition. You can scroll through. We talk about the charter school program. At one point, there was questions about waivers there. We know that there are not any waivers allowable right now under that particular grant. We had questions about financials and school start dates and MAEP and then the CARES Act. And some of that is taken directly from the state website from the Department of Education. And then some of that's in response to questions that we've had from our school leaders during our school check-ins. So that's an important document for our staff, our schools, and you as well. If you have questions, that is located on our website. The other thing that I wanted to point out this morning, and Jordan, if you'll pull that up, please. Thank you. This is a new document on our website. When I first got to the authorizer board a year ago in February, I received from the Mississippi First group a a 30-page memo from Rachel. And in that 30-page memo, there were multiple areas of concern that she had uncovered during her work on policies and procedures through the CSP. And through that particular 30-page memo, there were lots and lots of things that we needed to improve on. And so I'm happy to say that we have just about crossed every T and dotted every I and checked off every box with that respect to that memo and the tasks that were in that memo. And this is one of those last items that was in there. We were able to uncover the policies and law pamphlet that is a requirement under statute. It's required to be updated annually and posted and shared with applicants as well as schools prior to July the 1st. Now we have updated it and it is posted and it will be updated again in July. After the session is over and they sine die, anything that is applicable to our schools will go in this document. So Jordan, you can just scroll down and show the folks what that document looks like. There are live links on there. There's a reference to new business rules that we've adopted over the past year. In particular, the Educator Code of Ethics, and other adopted policies that the board has adopted. So any questions about those two documents? Okay, thank you, Jordan. All right, the next thing on my list this morning is the annual report. As you know, as a board, the authorizer is required by law to provide to the legislature an annual report. Last year was the first time that we had an annual report, and those are a year behind. So they track a year behind because of the way data is reported, right? So this year, our report to the legislature will be for the 2018-19 school year. That report will be ready before the statutory deadline, and in fact, should be ready for the Performance and Accountability Committee to take a look at within the next couple of weeks. We are in the second iteration of the work that we're doing on that, and should have, by June 18th, we should have a solid document for the committee to review, give your feedback, and then turn right back around and give to the graphic designer the report. So we'll be ready to share that quite soon. All right, what most of you are probably interested in, the last thing on my report this morning is the applications. As you know, last Friday was the deadline for new school applications. We had 7 applicants initially, and we ended up with 3 that completed the application cycle. So by completed, I mean made it through the letter of intent and the first application phase. They will go into the next phase, move on to the next phase where SchoolWorks will take over the review of those documents. Jordan, do you want to show that spreadsheet so they can see? So you can see initially we had the 4 at the top, Argy Peters, Excel Community, Kaleidoscope, and Piney Woods, who all made it through the letter of intent phase, but did not submit a complete application. To the right side of that document, you'll see either they did not submit at all or they submitted with missing documents. So the first one there, Argy Peters Logan STEM Academy, was missing 23 documents. Excel Communities was missing 6 documents, and Piney Woods was missing 4 documents. SR1, who proposes to open a school in Canton, submitted all of their documents on time. Southwest Leadership Academy, who is proposing a school in Macomb, also submitted on time. And Voices for Education, who proposes a school in North Bolivar, also submitted on time. So those 3 applications will go through to the next phase of the cycle. And I'll stop there in case anybody has any questions about that. All right. Well, that ends my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Appreciate all that. Next is the financial report. Is Denise is there to present the financial report? Okay, let's go.
Yes. So y'all were presented a copy of this ahead of time. So I just want to kind of hit the highlights for you. Since the last board meeting, there's been $64,000 in expenditures. And I just want to point out that that's 2 months worth of salaries reported, because we reported last time mid-April. And so we have 6 weeks of expenses showing on this report. Everything was pretty much routine during this time frame, and everything came out of the state general fund. We have not had to spend any of the special fund money. We are still on track to use all of our general fund by the end of the year. The way that the budget is looking, we're going to have more carryover than we did, than we anticipated. Originally, when we built the budget for FY20, we thought we would probably bring $250,000 forward into the next fiscal year. But based on the current cash balances and what I project for the expenditures, I think we'll have $350,000 to carry into the next year. So that's $100,000 more than we anticipated. The federal grant expenses are on track. Vanda's done a great job of keeping those going and getting the reimbursements done. And since the last board meeting, we've spent about $131,000. Most of that was for sub-grantees, but a little bit of operational expense for Vanda's salary. I think that's what I've got for FY20. I just want to touch base for a minute on the FY21 budget that will be upcoming. Dr. Comacheri and I already looked at what our appropriation looks like for next year. We are blessed that there's not a cut in the current Senate bill version of that appropriation. I think that's due a lot, in fact, that Dr. Comacheri has spent some time at the legislature talking about the charter school, but also that she's developed a relationship with the legislative budget analyst. So the same exact funding that we have this current year is what's proposed for next year. We won't know what that's going to look like finally until it is a Senate bill. It has passed the Senate and it's at the House. The House does not have to approve it until June 23rd, and then it will go to conference, and conference weekend right now is scheduled for July 4th. That is an issue for us because we start the new fiscal year July 1, so we won't have that budget. So Dr. Comacheri and I looked at what we would propose to the board for our FY21 budget, but we decided that you have a board meeting early in July, so we'd rather wait until that appropriation process is finalized before we propose the FY21 budget. So I think that's everything that I have, unless y'all have questions.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if there's any reason for me to stay on the call unless you want me to. You're going to handle the contract amendment and all of that. Okay, then y'all have a great day.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next we have new business action items. Dr. Comacheri, will you take it from here?
Yes, sir. I'm happy to do that. Under new business, you have 3 items. Item A is to consider the approval of a revised charter school contract. As I talked about earlier, when I first got to the authorizer, one of the things I noticed right away was the disconnect between what was in the language of the current contract versus what was in the language of the statute versus what was in the language of the performance framework and so forth. And so we began working diligently, even as far back as a year ago, looking at our contract. Since that time, we've been able to partner with WestEd and with NACSA and gotten some great feedback, some input. And I just want to start by reading to you so that you'll have some sense of the work that's been done and the feedback that we've gotten. So to begin with, NACSA will tell you every single time that the contract, the performance contract, is the most important document that we have as an authorizer board. It is the document that drives everything that we do. Also, in our work with West Ed, the feedback that we got from that was the improvements that you've made to this contract are great. The performance framework is now an integrated component of the contract. The operator, governing board, authorizer each hold a clear role and clear responsibilities. The additions to non-commingling of funds, the ESP, are well done. Avery, Denise, Jordan, Vanda have all had their eyes on this document as well as West Ed and NACSA. So our goal is just to ensure that this contract is based on best practices within our charter community. So the most important areas of change on the contract are reflected in primarily 3 areas. And that is the definition of who the contract is between, right? So the parties are clearly defined. And if you look on page 17 and 18 of your board packet, you will see that definition there. You will see a clear language around the parties to the contract include the charter operator, the charter governing board of directors, or the charter board, MCSAB, and or the authorizer. So everybody has roles, everybody has responsibilities, and they are delineated throughout the contract. Also in your draft version of the contract, you'll note items in blue. Those are areas that have been added or have been updated to reflect the authorizer as opposed to MCSAB. The second area of importance to note is an entire section on school performance and accountability. That's section 5 now in the contract, and that's found on page 32 and 33 in your board packet. One of the most important pieces of that document you'll see on 5.1.8, where we've added in the language meets or exceeds standards are desired and annual designations on the performance framework of less than meets or exceeds will result in an intervention as provided for in the intervention protocol section of the Mississippi Charter School Performance Framework, an area that needs to be revised and will be brought to you again next month for your consideration in reviewing and approving. And then the last area that is most critical is the clear language defining material terms and non-material terms for amendments. And the way that was described to us was these are the areas that matter, right? These are the areas that are most important. And again, if you look on page 40 and 41, you'll see that language defined and clearly articulated. And then we have added the material amendment request form in the back of this document itself. So as an exhibit, you'll have a reference to the any school that wanted to request an amendment would have to prepare that document, submit that for board approval on a material amendment. So this has been a labor of love. It has been a long effort to get it all ready, all cleaned up and in a good place. So I'm happy and appreciative of Avery and Jordan and Vanda, everybody's support on this, and especially our technical assistance providers as well. So I would ask that the board consider approving this in its revised form. You've had it a couple of weeks now. I think I sent it out earlier once and then sent out a revised version to you for review prior to the meeting. So I hope that you've had time to look at it, consider it, and will consider approving today.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the hard work that you and everyone else did on this contract. You stated really well what the importance of it is, and so I'm glad that we've gotten it to where we think we need it. At this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the revised charter school contract as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Speed. Second?
I will second that, and I'll also say to Lisa, thank you so much for your hard work and the hard work of your staff.
Thank you, Jean.
Thank you, Jean. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved.
Item B under new business is the consideration for approval of the Epicenter contract. This contract is an annual contract. It's our platform that we use for submissions, for documenting submissions from our schools whenever they have an obligation to submit, whether it's their quarterly reports for financials or their annual budget or their enrollment with respect to special ed or for MAP or for enrollment for Title I. So those are all documents that are on a calendar that are outlined for the schools ahead of time so they know when they're due. But this is simply an online platform for us to track accountability for our schools.
And this needs to be approved as well.
Yes, sir. It's a
Okay.
contract.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion for approval?
Yes, I will make that motion.
Thank you, Jean. A second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Motion passes. Lisa, the Cornerstone contract?
Yes, sir. Item C, you'll find in your packet as well. This is an annual contract as well. This is the work that Denise does for us. In this particular amendment, this will carry us through June 30th of 2021 and will not exceed a total amount of $47,000. It is an amendment to the current contract as well as the extension of into our new contract. So again, it's the financial work that Denise does through Cornerstone.
And a bargain at $47,000. Would somebody please give us a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. Do you have any other new business, Lisa?
I do not. The only thing that we need to do before we adjourn today is to go back and everybody list where they are so that we can have that for the record.
We don't have any guests that need to make a comment in the public comment area?
We didn't have a request.
Okay, thank you. I am at 569 North Old Canton Road, Madison, Mississippi, 39110, same place as last time, I think.
Lisa, I'm at 35 Backwoods Trail, Petal, Mississippi 39465.
Thank you, Jean. Mr. Speed, we know you're in North Carolina, but where in that beautiful state are you?
2141 Upper Divide, Highlands, North Carolina.
Thank you. And Jean?
And
I'm at 109 Twilight Drive, Clinton, Mississippi, 39056.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
did Carolyn join us?
I thought
Hello.
Carolyn?
Hi, I am at 137 County Road 320, Carrollton.
I thought I heard your voice earlier.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for giving that information. I appreciate that.
With that, we can set our next meeting for July 13th. Hopefully it will be an in-person meeting if we can do it.
Yes, and might I ask if the board would consider moving that meeting to 1 o'clock in the afternoon on July 13th? That will allow Mr. Speed to join us. He has a conflict at 10 a.m. on Mondays, and that would conflict with his schedule and inability to join us. So if the board would consider that for the 13th, we can also go back and consider revising our board calendar going forward so that Mr. Speed doesn't have a conflict.
I think that's a great idea. Does anyone have a problem with 1 o'clock on July 13th?
Mr. Speed, is that helpful for you?
It is, certainly is. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we will reconvene either in person for those that can make it, or over the phone, or if we, subsequent to this meeting, if we have are ordered back into back to quarantining, then we'll just do another Zoom meeting like we've been doing. So try to stay flexible if you can, and remember that there are only 4 of us now, and we cannot. We have to have everybody there, so we have a quorum to do some business. We're working with the governor's office and the lieutenant governor's office to try to make the new appointments as quickly as they can, but I know you all understand that they've got bigger fish to fry right now. And I think that as long as the 4 of us show up, then we'll be just fine. So I'd like to just encourage everybody to try to make sure they are available for these meetings. Is there any other business that needs to come before the board today? That being the case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Speed. We stand adjourned. See everybody next month.
Thanks, everybody. Jean,
Thank
welcome.
you.
Again. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Here.